Recapping our top story for you this morning, hundreds of thousands of mourners gathered at the Vatican this morning to honor the life of Pope Francis. And joining us live this morning with a look at the significance of the ceremony and what happens next is Monsignor Rick Hilgartner with the Archdiocese of Baltimore. Father Rick, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Good to be here, Jennifer. Thanks.
Tell me your thoughts about the ceremony this morning.
It was a beautiful morning. It helped that it was a perfect day weather-wise. Certainly the sun was shining on St. Peter's. But to see people gathered from so far around the world, and part of that was this weekend was supposed to be the canonization of Carlo Acutis, the teenager who died in 2006, whom Pope Francis was supposed to canonize. So lots of people had already had plans to be in Rome. We had several priests from the Archdiocese of Baltimore who were already going to be in Rome and ended up at the funeral this morning. So that probably added to some of the crowd getting there as quickly as they could. But there was just such a sense of Pope Francis's humility on display, even as heads of state from around the world were gathered, because the Pope himself is a head of state. In some ways, it was not unlike any other funeral. Most of the prayers of the funeral mass are what we pray every day with our faithful people at home here.
So there was a lot of tradition there, but also tweaked to fit this particular Pope.
Yeah, there are certain prayers that are limited or restricted for use for the Pope, and at the end of the funeral there was that beautiful Eastern Church commendation. We wouldn't typically see all of that on display all at once. But his funeral was not unlike any funeral of a believer, just on a much larger scale.
And the homily really spoke to his beliefs and what was important to him.
It did. Cardinal Ray talked about how Pope Francis had a gift for evoking images. So they even talked about the image of the church as the field hospital today. And certainly the images of Francis as a peacemaker, where he was always condemning war and saying, build bridges, not walls. And I think that perhaps was on display with Francis perhaps interceding as an instrument of peace, with the President and President Zelensky sitting down together right after the funeral inside St. Peter's Basilica to continue talks about the war in Ukraine.
We talked about off camera a little bit about where he's going to be buried, and it's not really breaking that much with tradition. A lot's been made of it, but really in the past, popes have been there.
So there are now 7 popes buried at the Basilica of St. Mary Major. It was a church that was very dear to Pope Francis's heart. When he was discharged from the hospital 2 months ago, he went to St. Mary Major to pray in the chapel before the image of the Blessed Mother, that he's done before and after every trip he ever made. And it was one of the last trips he made outside the Vatican. Was to there. And so today, when they had his casket out front, they turned him to face into the basilica and then turned him to face out again to the crowds. And when they took his body and they went to that chapel and turned his casket to face the image of the Blessed Mother where he prayed, and they had 2 children bring flowers there. A very touching, beautiful moment.
And you know what this moment is like because you were there for Pope John Paul's funeral. So this really had to mean something extra for you.
It was. It was evoking a lot of memories for me when I was there in 2005. And there's a lot of power in the simplicity of the funeral and the grand scale at the same time.
There's a lot that happens next, and there's a reason why the conclave doesn't come together right away. Tell me about that.
Yes, at the moment, the cardinals haven't even announced or decided the beginning date for the conclave. Now begins, today is the first day of the 9 days of mourning, what's called the Novem Diales. And it's a chance for the church collectively to grieve, but particularly for the cardinals, who were close collaborators of Francis, and among his closest circle of friends, I'm sure.
So they need this time.
They need the time to grieve personally, but it's also a chance for them to begin the discussions. So beginning Monday, well, they've already had some this past week, but now that the bulk of them are there, they will have meetings each day, what they call the general congregations. And it's a chance for them to get to know each other, to pray together, and to discuss issues facing the church and the world as they begin to discern what they're looking for in the next pope.
So this might be a little misnomer for those who don't understand, but they don't all know each other. They don't all know each other well.
Well, and under this in this current moment, Pope Francis named 80% of the current cardinal electors. So of the 135 eligible to vote, 80% of them were appointed by Pope Francis, and they have come from far more vast reaches of the world. Pope Francis really diversified geographically the College of Cardinals. So they've had less time to interact together, and some of them probably have never met before, other than the times that they've been in Rome for global meetings like the Synod of Bishops in the last 2 years. So they need time to get to know each other. And they bring a more broad spectrum of vision and experience of the life of the church than ever before. which could mean that it's going to take them a little longer to discern.
To figure out, because there's two different schools of thoughts. We've been reporting that it may not take very long. You're hearing that it could, because the question is, are they going to go with someone with his similar beliefs or someone who has a different way to go?
There's two great sayings. One is, that's an Italian saying, that after a fat pope, you have a thin pope. And it really has nothing to do with girth or weight.
Right.
But you don't immediately look for the carbon copy or the cookie cutter of, let's find the next Pope Francis to be just like him. You may want some traits to follow. The other saying is that the minute we can speak about contenders and what they call the papabile, the likely candidates, and you had something on the screen a few minutes ago about some of them. The other saying is, if you go into the conclave as Pope, you come back out as a cardinal, meaning like the likely candidate might not be the one, and we never know, because once they're in the conclave, it's all about prayer. They're not canvassing, they're not campaigning, they're praying and casting their votes. So the meetings that will take place over the next 10 to 15 days will be key. So that will be the chance for them to discern and discuss, and maybe in sidebar conversations begin to say, who do we think is the right person? But once they go in, they can vote for anybody.
Sure.
And so it may take them more ballots to get to that 2/3 majority.
So all of the next eyes are going to be on the smoke that comes out.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
Oh, white and black for sure. Everyone's looking every day to see what
Yes.
happens. Father
Yes.
Ray, thank you so much for coming in. I really
Happy to be
appreciate
here.
it. Great to have your reflections.
All
So
right.
good to see you.